Hey my good friend, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. We're finally test driving the 2018 Alfa Romeo Stelvio, the new Italian luxury SUV available in North America, competing against the BMW X3, the Mercedes GLC, and quite a few others out there in this particular class. So we're going to take it for a quick drive. I'm going to show it to you inside and out, and I'm going to tell you what I really think. On the topic of styling, right up front, well, there it is. There's a lot to see here. This is a vehicle you cannot mistake for anything else in the market. It certainly isn't a BMW. It's not trying to be a Mercedes-Benz, not trying to be anything other than Alfa Romeo. This is a grille design, a facial DNA that you've seen across their product line for a very long time. That deep V-shaped grille with the Alfa Romeo emblem sitting right up top and center, just very much part of the brand's longtime styling DNA. The headlights on this one, bi-xenon headlights with LED daytime running lights, and when you see those light up, again, you really cannot mistake this for anything else, and those LED daytime running lights really do tie in with the design of the grille quite well, and they work very well at night. The hood has a recessed design. The line actually sort of disappears when you're looking from the side. Aluminum hood and fenders, aluminum doors. This vehicle is made to save weight. Coming around the corner, the wheels on this 18-inch alloys are standard on the Stelvio. This is the TI. You step up here, you get 19-inch wheels. On this one, we've got the Sport package. So these are actually 20-inch alloys, a little bit more of a deeper, aggressive design than you're going to find on some of the other wheels. And through these wheels, you can see the large 13-inch Brembo brakes here with 4-piston calipers, red, with the Alfa Romeo script on there. Very sexy, I think. Also sexy on this one, this is volcano black metallic, a very rich metallic finish, and with that Sport package you have gloss black trim around the windows, which really just gives it a nice presentation, especially in this color. Coming down the side here, you see a lot of the things you expect with an SUV. You've got black plastic cladding on the lower half as well as black cladding on the fender openings, protect you when you're out there in the wild, which surely everyone with a metallic black Stelvio is going to do. What's really sort of interesting here is the way they've crafted the roof line. We've got coupes in this segment as well as standard SUV roof lines. The Mercedes-Benz GLC is a good example. You've got a fastback version as well as the regular SUV. This sort of threads the needle right down the middle. You've got a roof line here that has elements of that coupe look, yet is still upright enough that you've got headroom and some functionality in the rear cargo area, though not quite as much as you would if it were a square boxy rear. This is a power liftgate. You'll notice down at the bottom, this has a very low opening, a nice lift over height, not too high, very easy to get things in and out of. I like that. These taillights wrap around, LED taillights. The other thing I'd point out is the lower fascia. Look at that down there. It's very simple in design, but those tailpipes, those are real. Those are the real deal, not like the fake design tailpipes you see on, oh, I don't know, Audi for instance, where they're not even real. The exhaust pipes, yeah, it's just fakery. Here you've got the real deal. You have to clean them up when they get dirty, and I like that. That's what you pay for here. Behind the wheel of the Stelvio is sort of a new place for me, as I've really not spent a lot of time with the Alfa Romeo brand, so I don't have a lot of predetermined thoughts about how they put their interiors together. The material quality in here is very good. There's a soft touch dash, the door panels, and the aluminum trim that you see here. Fit and finish very well put together in here. I'd say it feels solid. Everything just has a nice high quality feel that you'd expect in this price range, and the plastics for the most part are of a pretty high quality, and this genuine aluminum trim everywhere that would be wood in the other trim grades has a nice high quality feel as well. The center stack, very simple. They've reduced the knobs and switches here, a lot of that going through this screen and the pucks here. We'll talk about that here in a minute. When it comes to storage, we've got cup holders down here underneath the slide cover, and inside we've got a small storage area down here, not very large actually, certainly not as large as you might like to have in an SUV, but there's a cubby down there for a number of things, plus additional ports for your auxiliary and the USB. Everywhere else you've got soft touch materials that are stitched. The seats, leather of course. These are leather sport seats that you're going to find specific to the Sport package. They're heated, they're power adjustable on both sides. Very easy to find a comfortable position, and they hold you very tight. There's big side bolsters here, as you can see. You're not moving around no matter how hard you're driving this car. I love that. As we look at the steering wheel here, one of the first things you'll notice is that the start-stop button for the engine is right there on the steering wheel. You hit it with your thumb and away you go. The other thing I want to point out are the paddle shifters right here. They have a nice tactile feel. They're made of metal. They work very well, and we'll get to that here on the drive. But they're very large, so that when you're turning, if you're on a mountain road or maybe you're on the racetrack, you're not going to have a hard time reaching those things to upshift or downshift. Nice tactile feel. I love paddle shifters that feel good. Anyway, through the steering wheel, you're going to find that there's a big 2-dial instrument cluster with a center screen 7-inch TFT display. You can customize that in any number of ways. Everything's laid out with good, clean, crisp graphics. Everything's down to business, very BMW-like in that fashion, and I like that. The rear seat compartment I've already found is pretty comfortable. The first thing I noticed right away was this high seating position. It's not sitting down on the floor like some in this class. So the first thing you'll notice is the fact that my knees aren't perched up. I'm not feeling like I'm trying to be pushed into a fetal position. I can sit in a very normal position back here. The one thing I would point out is this seat is pretty flat. There's not a lot of bolstering or contouring going on, but it is pretty comfortable nonetheless. Headroom very good in spite of the fact that we've got this panel roof here. It doesn't really take a lot of the space out, at least not so much that I am touching the roof or getting close to it. I'm about 5'9", and I've still got about 2 to 3 inches above my head. Legroom very good, and I've got these seats about 2/3 the way back in this particular vehicle. I usually have them about halfway, but in this car, for my height, that's about where they landed. Underneath the seat, a lot of space down there. Amenities back here also pretty good. I've got 2 USB charging ports, air vents, of course. You expect that in this class. You've got an armrest that folds down here. This seat, 40-20-40 fold down seat, so you can get that center section down if you got long items like skis or items from the home store. Once everything's folded down, you've got a pretty flat load floor back there. This one has an option which includes that cleat system that you see in the pictures along with the net. Underneath, a spare tire. It is an option on this car, but you can get it. Very important with an SUV, because if you really truly use it like one, say you go skiing up in the mountains or you go somewhere where there's no cell phone service to call AAA, you need a spare tire. When it comes to scoring this interior, I'm very impressed with my first genuine Alfa experience. Good materials, a nice design, it's comfortable, functional, ergonomic design's reasonably good with exception of that infotainment puck. And I really do think that the only area they can improve in here is a little bit more storage area, given the fact that we're in an SUV. Otherwise, we're at 5 out of 5 stars for the interior. The infotainment system here is the top of the line Harman Kardon 8.8-inch display with navigation. As you can see there, it's got good crisp graphics and it's laid out in a very wide letterbox style. Visibility is pretty good. As you can see in the pictures here, there's a little bit of glare depending on how the sun hits it and how you look at it. But for the most part, this little lip right here in the shrouding does help that when you're driving around most of the time. And you can change the look of that. You can go to a split screen. Instead of having that map all the way across, you can have information on one side. You can do that with the radio as well as the map. Now, using it, however, you'll note that there are no knobs up here for this system. All the controls for it are right down here on the center console. You've got a large puck with buttons on the side. Then you've got a volume knob right here on the side, which you can also toggle back and forth sideways to use for tuning up and down. I'm not normally a big fan of these kinds of systems. I like the traditional knobs, the volume, the tuning, get it done fast. Don't mess with all of this stuff distracting while you're driving. This system, however, much better than some of them out there. Mazda, for instance, one of the worst in the business. This one actually works quite well. There's a button right here to push. You can move that around, you can toggle them. You can actually navigate those different screens and menus. Big learning curve here. First day or two I had in this car, a lot of figuring out how to get past some of the weird little things this thing does, undo them, change the settings to get them to my liking. The good news is it can be done. It's just a big learning curve. Sound quality from the Harman Kardon system, very good. A lot of feature content here. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, connectivity, very important in the marketplace today. Overall, this is a system that is very good once you learn it, but getting there takes a lot of brain damage. So this system gets 4 out of 5 stars. Under the hood of the Stelvio is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 280 horsepower, 306 pound-feet of torque. That is more horsepower than some of the competitors out there with their base engines, even though the size of the engine is the same. Transmission, 8-speed automatic transmission. There's no manual yet available, and the EPA rates this at 22 mpg city, 28 mpg highway, and 24 mpg combined. Fun stuff out of the way first. How does it go? Woo! All right. Well, once you get off the line, which is to say once the delays and the drive-by-wire throttle and the transmission, the computer finally get out of the way and let the power come on, this engine's got a nice push into the back. I mean, it really grabs on. So the turbo lag really isn't too terribly bad. It's more drivetrain lag and drive-by-wire lag at the first. But once you're out moving, this thing really moves for a 4-cylinder engine in a big heavy SUV like this. And we're doing 95 miles an hour out here. Woo! And we've got paddle shifters here for this 8-speed automatic that work well. Very well, in fact. I mean, they shift with a thunk, and they downshift when you ask. They work better than the average paddle shifter, in fact. And this powertrain just really can be your friend if you want to go out and get a speeding ticket. Woo! Snap, 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 snap. Those shifters do very well. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is the fun stuff. Driving around town, a little different. This powertrain tends to be a little bit rough and noisy and gravelly, just in the daily drive from stoplight to stoplight. And then we've got the auto start stop system. Yuck. Okay. I generally don't like them. Stops the engine when you get to a stoplight. As soon as you let off the brake, starts the engine again. Here, it's very aggressive. It literally shuts the thing off at every possible time. And it's not very fast to start it back up. So you let off the brake, sometimes it will not start the thing until you actually roll into the throttle. So you wouldn't want to like time yourself and pull out in front of fast moving traffic with that engine off, because you might get yourself hit. It's that slow. And so that's a negative. The other negative is there's just a lot of drivetrain back and forth when it comes to around town. It's very abrupt on off, not the kind of refinement that I expect in something of this price range. So out having fun works very well, but in real life, when you're going to and from work, it tends to be a little bit rough and a little bit less refined than I like. The other thing, fuel economy. Rated at 24 mpg combined. That's pretty normal for a vehicle like this, if not maybe a little bit better, but what I actually achieved was 20 mpg during my week of testing with it. So this powertrain just sort of has a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde approach to it. A lot of fun, has a reasonably good sound out there when you're really having fun with it, but when you're just trying to live with it, 4 out of 5 stars. The chassis of this Stelvio is an all-new platform for Alfa Romeo, and also a variation of this underpins the new Giulia sedan. The biggest question I had for the Stelvio was, how does it drive? Whenever you take something like the Giulia sedan, you raise it up, you give it a lift kit, and you make it into an SUV, there's always something lost. And in this class, well, there's a lot of good competitors. You got BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Infiniti, Audi, the like. How does this stack up and compare to those? Well, first of all, this one has the Sport package, which has a little bit more of an aggressive suspension, the bigger tires and wheels, big wide tires here. The first thing I'm noticing is this has a much sharper feel than does a couple of those other competitors that I've driven. It feels more solid, and out here on a rough road, it actually just has a more premium feel. It's definitely more connected to the road. I've got more feel through the steering, and these brakes really work well. And it doesn't have a lot of forward and aft pitch. It doesn't have a lot of side-to-side roll. It's very well controlled. The steering has a very nice feel to it. Nice response and turn in. Now I've got this set on D, on the DNA drive mode, which is the sportiest of the settings. So everything here with the drivetrain and the steering is really dialed in for a sporty feel. Balance, all the things that are a hallmark of something you'd spend this much money for when it comes to chassis. Near 50-50 front to rear balance in terms of weight. It's just very well sorted. And on some of these rough patches on the road, I haven't found this chassis to get upset or jittery in any way. I'm very impressed with it overall. 5 out of 5 stars. On the measure of quality, Italian vehicles, Alfa Romeo, other brands have always gotten a little bit of ribbing for their quirks and their funny little build quality foibles here and there. I got to tell you, this is a vehicle that's very well put together, very much up there with BMW and Mercedes-Benz in terms of finish, fit, body alignment, all of those things. Interior materials here, very, very good. I'm impressed overall. There were a couple of things though, a few little mechanical glitches here, electronics, that sort of thing. The key fob and the lock's not quite always behaving the way you'd expect them to. And the warranty coverage here, 4 years, 50,000 miles, that is very good. It is pretty close to top of the class here in the luxury segment, but not the best warranty coverage out there in the terms of automotive the realm. So quality score comes in at 4 out of 5 stars. Wrapping it up for the Stelvio, let's have one more look at this particular angle. I think it's really sexy from this particular view. Shame we're gonna have to cover that up with the specs, but there they are. $54,000 and some change for this one, a TI Sport all-wheel drive. Now that starts at $43,995 for this model. A lot of options, the Sport package as we talked about. I think that's a pretty important package here. It really gives it the look that you see, but a lot of the standalone options that are here also very nice to have in there. Now when you really compare that to the Germans, what do you get? Well, the Germans tend to really stack on the options and the cost for those, so we've got the same thing going on here. That's kind of a European thing. Some of the Japanese brands just put that all in for one price. When it comes to comparing this thing, we're looking at something that's got Italian style and character. It's very distinctive from the Germans and certainly distinctive from the Japanese brands that are out there. And when the Koreans enter this particular segment, we'll sort of have to take a new look at that point in time. But I think the value is very good here. I think we're at 5 out of 5 stars. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're 4.5 stars for the review. Very good. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Stelvio. Sounds like the name of an Italian lover. Stelvio. What it really is the Stelvio Pass in Italy, a famed and revered windy mountain road in that country where people with cars who love to drive go to truly enjoy them. Very windy, very fun road to drive, very challenging. Kind of like an Italian lover. Anyway, if you like the video you just saw, click right here, see our latest video, or click right there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Either way, stay tuned. Stelvio.